On today's podcast, we're going to be discussing something that I think to many people, it's going to come off as controversial. To myself, it's not controversial at all. And good theology about discipleship does not actually lead to good discipleship. Today, what we're going to be talking about is executing on good theology about discipleship is actually the thing that leads to good discipleship.
This is Breaking Barriers, where we help pastors and churches grow so that they can go. All right, everyone, welcome to the Breaking Barriers podcast, where we are all about helping churches grow so that they can go. You can grow without going, but you cannot go without growing. Today, I have the privilege to play host to my good friend, Pastor Bobby. He's on the heels of a talk he just did last week at our Breaking Barriers conference, which if you missed out on that, man, definitely be looking for that for next year. It was an amazing conference. I feel like your talk was one that really kind of shifted some paradigms for people. And so what I want to do is just ask you some questions today around that. And the talk was about a really important issue in church world, one of the most important issues in the church world. And honestly, it's a hot topic because there's a lot of opinions out there. There's a lot of conference speak. There's a lot of things around discipleship. And Bobby, you just had a viewpoint on that I think is so good and so applicable to so many churches who are feeling some guilt around this or feeling kind of stuck. And so what I wanted to do was just kind of kick things off by having you sort of give us the overview. What was kind of the crux of what you were talking about, really from Acts 2 and when it comes to discipleship?
Yeah, thank you, Randy. I think this is a really good topic for us to talk about. Obviously, people like to talk about discipleship and, man, what's our, church's theology of discipleship and all of that. And I was given a talk on Acts chapter 2. A lot of you guys, if you've listened to Breaking Barriers, you understand that, we have a discipleship strategy that we use at Mercy Hill. We call it discipleship flywheel. It's from Acts chapter 2. It's basically gather, groups, give, go. I was doing a talk on that. But when I started to think about it, I think the issue that many churches have, and I want to spend maybe an extra bit of time doing an intro today because I think it's a very simple concept, but it's kind of easy to miss. I think there's a real issue in the church world when it comes to talking about discipleship, because when we think about discipleship, especially when we think about, man, does my church have an issue with discipleship? Or, if I'm a lead pastor and I'm leading my church in discipleship, when we think about discipleship, we almost solely think about the theory of discipleship, or you could just say the theology of discipleship. Mm-hmm. What's our theology of discipleship? More than we think of the execution of discipleship. And let me just continue to play that out. If you go to a conference, you are, I would say 100x more likely to hear a talk on theology of discipleship or what's your theory, man, are you really making disciples? What's your theory of discipleship? More than you are on the execution of discipleship. But the way that I would think about it, theology of discipleship, it takes you 30 minutes to come up with that. Mm-hmm. Let's assume, a lot of us, man, we've gone to seminary, we've gone to Bible college, we believe the Bible, we understand the Bible. Yeah. It's not that complicated to get to your, assuming you do believe the Bible. Yeah. It's not that complicated to get to your theology of discipleship. Man, go to Acts, go to Acts chapter 2, go to the Great Commission. Mm-hmm. Just see what is the church about?
It's all there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all that complicated. It's not like it's not like a business, right? Where you're trying to come up with the strategy from scratch. Yeah. That's more complicated. In the church, it's like, no, we went to the end of Acts chapter 2. Mm-hmm. We said, what were they doing? Man, and you could frame it lots of different ways, but in essence, they were gathering, grouping, giving, and going.
Right.
They were trying to make disciples and multiply churches. That's kind of our mission statement. Yeah. The problem is a lot of times, man, when we think our stuff is not going well, we just go back to that. And what I want to draw out today from Acts chapter 2 is the hard work is not actually the theology. The hard work is in the actual execution of it.
Right.
One of them, the theology, takes 30 minutes and it's important. Yeah. You can't miss your North Star. Mm-hmm. You have to have the theology. It's essential. It's vital. But that one's not that complicated or it's not that hard to do. Right. The one that's hard to do is it's going to take 30 years to execute on actually making disciples.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that I wrote it for the podcast today is good theology about discipleship does not lead to good discipleship. That's what a lot of people think.
Right.
Man, if I can just go to seminary, if I can hear the next conference talk, and this is what all conferences are about, if I can just nail the theology, it's going to lead to good discipleship. And the fact is, it does not.
Right.
Man, there's plenty of people with great theology around discipleship that are not actually making disciples.
Right.
So the way to think about it is executing on good theology about discipleship. That's what leads to good discipleship.
Yeah.
It's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's not saying, man, we get rid of the theory of discipleship, the theology, because it's like that's vitally important. You can't make disciples without that.
Yeah. But
just having that is not enough. You actually have to execute on it. And I think a verse, man, this verse kind of cuts us, but Proverbs 14:23, in all toil there's profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty.
Yeah.
People love to talk about discipleship. And in my opinion, it's talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. Talk. Here's the mistake that I think churches make, and I want to hear you speak on this. Man, we say we all want to make disciples, right?
Right.
Like, man, anybody who's listening to this podcast, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
like,
it's a
man,
heartbeat thing.
we all have the same mission. Jesus has given us this mission. We want to make disciples. It's what Jesus told us to do. He's going to be with us to the end of the age as we do it. But we realize we're not doing it well enough. And a lot of times it's actually because of the execution.
Right.
Man, our deacon board's not aligned. Our elder board's not aligned. We got staff that, they're not aligned.
Right.
We have multiple visions, which I would say is division. Like
Right.
we have all these different issues. And instead of saying, man, okay, we need to lift up the hood
Mm-hmm.
and actually look at how we can execute on discipleship better day to day,
Yeah.
we immediately say, let's go back to the theory.
Plan. Yeah.
And the problem is, if the theory was never the issue, the execution was the issue,
Right.
then going back and getting a new theory is not going to actually fix the execution issues.
It's very similar to, you think about a lot of the diet trends out there. It's like, man, how many different diets are out there that can actually lead to health? You got keto, you got all these different, models of how you should do this out there.
That's a good way to think about it.
And where people actually get messed up is not, the diet itself. It's in the execution of the plan. And so they'll do keto for 2 months, lose a bunch of weight, but then you see that cheesecake and you see that stuff and that starts sliding back into your life. And it's like, man, keto's not working for me. I'm going to switch over to LA Fit or whatever the Mediterranean diet. I'm just going to totally change the play instead of relentlessly executing on what the actual plan is. And I think there's a lot of similarities in the church world, because it's kind of easy to say, well, we tried it. It didn't work. Let's jump onto something else and see if this works for us, instead of just being so committed. Man, this is the right theology. Let's just be crazy dedicated to the execution of that.
100%. Yeah. And for whatever reason, man, I really don't know why. When you start talking about, man, operating, right? Like, what's the guy that runs the Chick-fil-A? Like, he's the operator, right?
Right.
You talk about operating, you talk about execution. As soon as you begin to use those words, people are like, oh, we're in the business world.
Right.
And I'm like, man, and this is what we're going to talk about today. I have to theologically disagree with you from Acts chapter 2 that we're in the business world when we're talking about operating, when we're talking about execution.
Yeah.
Because I think theologically, at the very heart of making disciples is execution.
Right.
Doing the same thing day in, day out for 30 years, not being discouraged without seeing results, and you just keep plugging away.
Yeah.
But for some reason, man, as soon as you use those words, people are like, oh, we're talking business stuff. And it's just like, man, that's just not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. And we live in such a microwave culture where it's like, man, I want to try this thing. And if this is not working, then I'm going to abandon this and go to the next thing. When really, like, man, it's so much of discipleship is just the grind. It's being there when life falls apart for somebody else, running the same thing over in your presence, the system around that, which we're going to talk about at length today, the way we've tried to systematize that here at Mercy Hill. Man, it's just sticking with it and not jumping ship for a new plan every time something doesn't go how you think it was going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I would say most churches that are not growing, one of the primary reasons they're not growing is because someone's changed the plan or the pastor's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I was talking to a pastor recently, and he was telling me about like all this recent momentum they had in their church. And I was like, man, how long have you been doing this at this church? And he's like, 34 years.
Mm-hmm.
And his son was with him, who's also on staff at the church now. And
Yeah.
they said they were, I forget how many years, maybe almost 15, the first 15 years their church was mobile.
Yeah.
And they've been seeing some awesome momentum just recently, and they've just been plugging away day in, day out.
Yeah.
And that is the conversation we don't have around discipleship.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Man, I'd love to talk a little bit about that alignment piece, just kind of hear from you on what that has looked like. I remember the early days of Mercy Hill. I came in as the groups guy. That was my first role here at Mercy Hill. And I remember I was kind of steeped in the real life discipleship sort of world, which is great stuff. And I remember having a conversation with Andrew about that. And he's like, whoa. That's not what we do here. This is how we view discipleship, man. Get in the stream, move down. We didn't have the same language that we do now around the flywheel. Mm-hmm. But for you, you've been so integral in putting language to all of this and then aligning our teams from top to bottom in the organization around this is, man, we've got the theology. We're going to align around that theology. We're going to relentlessly execute on this. And so I'd love to hear from you what that has looked like and the different, how that's kind of formulated in your mind. And
I think number one, as you get bigger, you have to try harder and harder to simplify what it is that you're committed to.
Yeah.
And I really think that's a theological thing. When you think of Acts 2:42 that we use, we use Acts 2:42 through 47 for our theology of discipleship.
Yeah.
But we also use it for our practice of discipleship, right? So you have like the theology and the praxis. Mm-hmm. And, they say in verse 42, it says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to the prayers. Mm. And when I read that, to me, two things I kind of draw out. One, they were not hedging their bets. Like they were fully devoted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like the burn the ships mentality.
Right.
Like, man, I'm fully all in.
Yeah.
Like we are 100% all in. But the second part is how simple it is. Mm-hmm. Like they're able to very simply list 4 things they're devoted to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not 100 things. It's not 400 things. It's not come to my 17-week discipleship class. It's not come to the 22-week evangelism class. It's we are devoted to these 4 things.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's easy to execute on that across 30 years, but the very concept is simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we are devoted to these 4 things.
Yeah.
They're able to say it very simply.
Yeah. I think that's a good...
that's the starting place.
Yeah, I'd love to kind of throw this back to you. You had some good diagnostic questions in your teaching around this. Like for people who are listening to this right now and they're thinking, man, I feel like I've got the theory, but I'm not so sure we have the alignment and the clarity. What are some of the diagnostic questions that you would ask somebody who's listening to this right now and wondering where do we kind of fit into this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the starting place for hey, is the church as simple as the biblical church? Mm-hmm. The starting place would be, man, can a 10-year-old in your church in 30 seconds on a napkin write what discipleship is about in your church?
Yeah.
And if he can't, then I'm like, well, it's certainly a lot more complicated than Acts chapter 2 is.
Yeah.
Because in Acts chapter 2, they devoted themselves to the prayers, to the fellowship, to the teaching. It was like, hey, these 4 things, this is what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even when you get to Acts chapter 6, where there's this controversy of man, the pastors are now taking care of people and all this stuff, they had to actually go back and say, well, wait a minute, the pastors should be devoted to the teaching and to prayers, and so this is where deacons come in.
Yeah.
It was them committing to kind of the simple model. So the number one piece with alignment is, does everybody know what they're devoting themselves to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think about the old school big heavy merry-go-round where all the kids are pushing. Mm-hmm. Man, all the kids are pushing in the same direction. Those things are heavy, and they're hard to get started. But once they get going, they're dangerous. I mean, they're going, 20 miles an hour. Well, just imagine if 10 kids are pushing one way, and then you got 2 kids that are trying to always push the other way.
Yeah.
Even though the 2 kids are not stronger than the 10, it's going to never get the momentum that it should.
Yeah. So
that's why alignment is so important.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear you speak to this, but just listening to you kind of talk through that, I think about maybe you're listening to this today and you're thinking, man, I know right now, number 1, we haven't clarified this. Number 2, when I do clarify it,
some people are going to get mad.
Some people are not going to be aligned with this.
Right.
And man, I'd love to just hear you talk about, man, what is the overall impact of that and some of the stuff that we've walked through as we've clarified some of this, over the years. I think the last 5 years have been a lot of clarifying for us. And honestly, some people, when we clarified, they didn't make it.
Right.
That was probably best for them and best for Mercy Hill because they were trying to, two visions, division.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would say, I can't speak for Pastor Andrew, our lead pastor, but I think I know what he would think and feel about this. Yeah. Is man, we don't need to clarify, or we don't need to make a statement about every single thing that he believes in his heart. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We're trying to have a bigger tent than that. Mm-hmm. If he gets into eschatology and this and that, you're gonna unnecessarily run some people off when it's man, we could be under the same roof, the same church.
Yeah.
But for us, we have determined ministry philosophy, how we're going to go about it, is important enough to clarify what we believe.
Yeah.
Because we feel as a church, the primary thing we're doing is not just believing the same things together. We're actually doing ministry together.
Right.
That's what we're actually doing.
Right.
We're serving together, we're in groups together. So having the same philosophy of discipleship to us is essential.
Yeah.
So, we've just, over the years, we've just tried to name it.
Yeah.
And you would not think this is controversial, right? I mean, we're not talking about, here's our belief on dinosaurs, right? We're just saying, based on Acts 2, we're going to be a church that focuses on gathering, Sundays, groups in people's homes, giving, time, talent, treasure, and going.
Yeah.
Man, even when we clarified it with those simple words that are pretty much from the Bible, we certainly had people leave our staff, leave the church.
Yeah.
And you clarify anything, you're going to have people that just don't like it.
Yeah.
But, man, you got to say, we believe the alignment piece and for the ability to reach more people is actually more important.
Yeah. Yeah, and just a note on that, I mean, one of the things that we've done that I think has been extremely helpful in our hiring process is to make that a value for us. So at Mercy Hill, 100% aligned with the flywheel, which is essentially saying you agree with you would think this would be, just baseline interview stuff, but you agree totally with our philosophy of ministry. That's an essential to work here. That's an essential to get hired here. So if we're interviewing somebody and we say, hey, man, one of our values is 100% aligned with the flywheel, our flywheel is gather groups, give, and go. This is what that looks like. If we get any sort of, sort of the ick face, that's a huge red flag for us because we know how important it is that, man, we're running hard here. And if we're running hard, but in different directions and working on different things and not relentlessly executing the same thing, man, it just creates more frustration for everybody involved.
Yeah.
It's super frustrating.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I hear pastors, even some bigger churches, with a large staff, it's almost like they're trying to appease all the different people on their staff.
Yeah.
Because, all the people on their staff have read different types of discipleship, the house church movement in China or this discipleship model or this discipleship model. Mm-hmm. And the pastor's trying to almost appease everybody, get them to believe that we kind of believe in all the different.
Yeah.
And it's man, it just feels like we don't have time and energy for that.
Yeah.
It's just easier to say, this is what we're about.
Yeah.
There's lots of awesome churches that go about this in different ways. And for some people, you would probably be a lot happier and God would probably use you better if you were to be at one of those churches.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing personal or anything. Yeah. It's man, God's kind of given us a vision. This is the vision we're running after.
Yeah.
Always got to do it with grace and kindness. And, but you're right. I mean, we got to all be aligned.
Yeah. Man, I'd love to hear you, just to circle back to something you said earlier. You mentioned your friend who'd been pastoring for 34 years and starting to see momentum in his church. There really is something to that. I think in your talk, you mentioned the Jim Collins book, Good to Great. Uh-huh. And just this idea of man, a lot of these companies aren't necessarily, you would think they're an overnight success, but really what they've been doing is working the same flywheel over and over. Talk about that a little bit, kind of in the church world. Yeah.
So Collins, I think he calls it the 10-year overnight success, and here's how he explains it. He says when all of a sudden there's like a new thing in culture, like in the business world, where all of a sudden, like all of our, a lot of us have kids the same age. All of a sudden your kids all want to buy the same shoes that you've never heard of, or they want to buy this other thing, or there's this new store that they want to go to. And it's real easy to be like, wow, I've never heard of that thing before. Man, they must have just come out of nowhere.
Right.
And his point in that book is almost always when you see something like that pop up, they have been pushing a flywheel. They've been pushing a heavy boulder uphill for the last 10 years. And then after the, 10 million, push that they've had, all of a sudden they've started to have success and breakthrough. And it literally took 10 years to get some sort of momentum.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I just think people look into anything successful. I think people sometimes look at Mercy Hill now and, man, God has blessed us in an amazing way with this new building that we have, our Ridge campus, our home and hub. And people sometimes look in and they just kind of think, man, it just must be nice.
Right.
Mercy Hill got this building, or this happened at Mercy Hill. And the thing that I try to help people see is, like, one, it's all God's grace. But two, trust me, like, me and Pastor Andrew have been here since the very beginning. It definitely didn't happen overnight.
Right.
And in fact, it led to many, many, many sleepless nights of the hard work, the anxiety, the depression, seeing people leave, not knowing if we're going to be able to make it another month, another year. And man, if we've done anything right, man, we're just kind of dumb enough to keep pushing the same boulder uphill day after day after day after day until you begin to see. And the cool thing is, man, Acts chapter 2, I mean, God, added to their number eventually.
Yeah.
And that's how I try to encourage guys, like, man, until you've tried to maybe push the same flywheel for at least about 3 years, day in, day out, your primary focus is executing on it without going back to another conference and getting another philosophy.
Yeah.
Let's maybe not change what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it just takes more time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So good theology,
right?
Relentless execution, sticking with it, not abandoning ship, jumping to the next model, the thing you just heard at the conference. But I want to kind of zero in on a line that you said in your talk that I thought was so good. You said, you talked about compounding discipleship instead of cashing it out. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I was just playing on kind of the concept that a lot of people understand. I have people raise their hands, like, how many of you have some sort of investment account, maybe with the church, with your work, whatever, maybe your parents gave it to you, you have an investment account.
Yeah.
Basic idea of investment account is you look at the balance for the first couple years and it's like, man, this thing is not moving.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially at first when you're not putting much money in it, it's like, man, this thing literally is not moving, or it actually went backwards.
Yeah.
But the worst thing that you could do is pull the money out of there, because you lose the ability to allow time to compound it over time.
Right.
So I was just making the point to people, and I think you really see this in Acts chapter 2, whatever those 4 or 5 things are, like, you gotta, when God adds to your number, like, man, we've been plugging away to get more people here. We've been plugging away at evangelism. We've been plugging away at community groups. We've been plugging away at trying to get people to go on a mission trip. As soon as God begins to breathe on it and he begins to add to your number, let's not get super excited and then go start a totally different ministry.
Right. Churches never do that.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The funny thing is, the more established the church is, you go to the church and you get the handout that has 40 things on it. And I'm like, it's more reason that you guys need to actually be focusing on less things.
Yeah.
So my point was, whatever those 3 to 4 to 5 things that are like your core, this is what we're focusing on for discipleship, as soon as you begin to have some success, take all of the momentum of that success.
Yeah.
The momentum is going to be money. It's going to be more people want to serve.
Yeah.
It's going to be more people excited about your church. It's going to be more life change stories. That's the momentum I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's this like momentum piece that happens. You got to take that and just invest it back in the core things.
Yeah.
Don't go start something new.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, man, as soon as they get some success, they cash it out and they go invest it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, they wonder, man, this flywheel, this discipleship plan we have, it just doesn't feel like it's moving the way it should.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you cashed it all out like a couple years ago.
Yeah. That's good, man. Well, Bobby, anything else you would want to say to pastors, church leaders who are listening to this podcast when it comes to discipleship and really, this idea of good theology, relentless execution, staying the course, clarifying? Anything else you would want to say to them before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say going back to kind of the relentless execution, because we didn't get too much into like what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
I think it's really good in Acts chapter 2. You have this phrase, and day by day. Yeah. It comes up twice. And day by day, they were attending the temple together. Day by day, God added those who were being saved. And I just think this idea of day by day is kind of the execution piece of this. Yeah. Because sometimes I'll ask pastors and they think this is like business world talk. And I'm like, man, no, it's daily discipleship talk. Mm-hmm. I'll say, hey, when somebody emails one of your staff members, do they email them back within 24 hours?
Yeah.
Because the way I would describe that is day by day.
Right.
Right? They're not just doing discipleship on Sundays. They're doing it day by day.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes forward at your church, and they want to sign up for the next baptism or whatever, I would say, hey, is your staff getting back with them the same day?
Right.
Not Monday, not Tuesday. Oh, we have a holiday on Monday. It's going to be Wednesday until I get back to them. It's like, no, discipleship is day by day.
Right.
Are they doing discipleship day by day?
Yeah.
And it's so easy to think, man, that's business world. That's Chick-fil-A. That's Amazon. That's Apple. It's like, no, that should be the church.
Yeah.
Like, I just get sad over the fact that you look at so many businesses and you're like, man, they have more alignment, execution, and reinvestment into the business than the church does.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, the church should be more aligned.
Yeah.
More executing, more
passionate.
Yeah, more investing back in.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I mean that to me is kind of the main thing. And just like you said, are we willing to just kind of stay committed?
Yeah.
Man, I'll throw it back to you. Just kind of throw you off here a little bit.
Let's do it, man.
Like, I think the concept is simple.
Yeah.
Like, hey, get your theology,
mm-hmm.
right? And then align everybody around it.
Yep.
And this is what we're going to do. Gather groups, give, go.
Yep.
Call it something else. We're going to pray, preach, and sing or whatever.
Right.
Whatever you want to call
Whatever
it.
your flywheel
right?
is. Yep.
Right. As long as it's based on theology in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like, man, we're going to align our staff around it. That's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to execute on it, and we're going to reinvest in it.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that people make that like logical fallacy almost, that like they struggle with the execution and therefore they want to go back and change the theology or change not the theology, but they want to change the theory or strategy?
Because execution is hard. I mean, that's just like it goes back to the diet thing, man. It's like, man, it's just so
That's so
hard.
That's so convicting. You just said it and I felt convicted.
Same, dude. I've
Not
been
the diet, but just the reality of how hard execution is.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really is. And it's so much easier to say, y'all, we gave it our best shot. It didn't work.
It's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You gave it a really bad shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, if you just press me on that would be my answer, is because that is the hard part. Man, the theology is already there for us. We're not creating it. We're just pulling it out of Scripture. Jesus modeled it for us. It's the day by day. I'm going to do the things that move the needle in discipleship. I'm going to be devoted to this. I'm going to be committed to this. That is where I think it's human nature just to struggle with that. And I think that's why a lot of churches, and we've struggled with this at times, but man, that's why a lot of churches throw out the playbook, come up with a new playbook, because, man, it's just really hard to stay the course and push the same boulder up the hill it's not sexy.
Yep.
It's not new and shiny. It's the same old, but man, that is the magic.
Yeah.
Just doing the hard work.
You just won the podcast, man, with the answer to that question. 'Cause I think you really nailed it. Yeah. I often tell my wife, Allison, like when we're talking about our finances or kids or something in life, I always say like, hey, theory is easy.
Yeah.
Doing it is what's hard.
Yeah.
Because man, I'm the same way. I'm tempted in the same way. Like we have 3 boys, man, they're all kind of school age, and we're always like, man, are we doing enough? Are we discipling them enough? Whatever.
Yeah.
And both of us, we always want to go back to like, man, we need a different discipleship tool.
Yep.
Right? We need the John Tyson thing, or we need this thing, or we need
new devotional. Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like, man, are you eating dinner together for 15 minutes every day and reading the Bible and praying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a whole lot more complicated, but that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, just the daily relentless execution.
Yeah.
Man, I'd rather be on to, you know what I mean? Like,
on to the next thing.
Something more exciting or whatever.
Yeah.
But man, like, the stakes are too high in churches.
Yeah.
You know, when it's not profit and loss.
Yeah. It's
like, man, kingdom stakes. So, man, anything else around all this? I mean, you've just seen this kind of firsthand, how hard it can be.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it doesn't get easier as the church gets bigger. I think it gets harder as the church gets bigger, because you got more people with more ideas, but then you have actually more ability to do more stuff.
Yeah.
And so you got to keep.
Man, I think this is timely for us. I mean, we're year in, we're thinking about next year, we're thinking about the things that we want to reinvest in and the things that we want to put our, sort of mental, emotional, and spiritual energy toward. And it's always tempting to say, well, let's try this thing. So-and-so church over there did this and they saw a ton of success. But I think it's so timely to come back and say, like, no, this is the flywheel. This is how God has blessed our church over the years. Even before we had the language for it, we were doing these things. You know what I mean? And just staying committed to those things and reinvesting in those. And man, I've had the privilege from my seat just to see this kind of, the last 11 years, see God just bless this, just bless the faithfulness that we haven't done perfectly. I don't want to put guilt on anybody listening to this podcast. Maybe you need to feel some conviction, but not necessarily some guilt. I think coming out of a podcast like this, if you're a lead pastor, an executive pastor, man, just getting crystal clear on what is our theology, what is our flywheel, are we aligned, and what next steps do we need to take to get there? And I'll kind of end it with this. Man, if you like this content, definitely check out our Facebook group. That's a private group, and you can post questions on there at any time. We love to interact on that thing. And definitely check out the conference next year, and our website is breakinggrowthbarriers.com. All right, that's it.